Lord, I thank you for this day, for this time to be here, to celebrate Steph and Preston. I ask for that you just watch over us today, that you keep us safe, and that today would just express joy and gratitude to you, that you be at the center and we love you in Jesus' name.
Amen. Awesome.
Yay.
Hey God.
It's all so pretty.
You guys get good. I was so awkward.
So scared, didn't talk to me.
I need a room shot.
Grandma, don't worry. Thank goodness you remind me of the monkey ribbons.
So we need a room shot.
Yeah.
Oh, what else? Yes. Oh, it is in here. Yes.
Praline bacon. Just try it on this special.
Wayne, it's wedding day, baby. Get some good pictures. Don't let me down. It's cost me a lot of money. We're in someplace in Ashland City, Tennessee. This is crazy. Thanks for having me.
I want to sing the Lord's Prayer.
No, I want to sing it.
I want to sing the Lord's Prayer.
I want to sing it.
You tell them the story.
Yes.
Are you ready?
I'm so ready.
Get another.
Now that it was all spontaneous.
There you go, yeah, I know.
He was just warming up. He was getting ready.
Sorry, I did not
Say something nice about me.
We're trying to have a good breakfast. And we'll have lunch at the church.
Oh my gosh, yes. We're living in your mom's car. That joke never gets old. Steam the pirates. He does not help me at all.
at all. You make beautiful things. You make beautiful things out of the dust. You make beautiful things. You make beautiful things out of us. All around, hope is springing up from this old ground. Out of chaos, life is being found in you. Make beautiful things. You make beautiful things out of the dark. You make beautiful things. You make beautiful things out of us. Oh, you make beautiful things. You make beautiful things out of the dark. You make beautiful things. You make beautiful things out of us.
Love is a banner, covers me, flying in all of its splendor, beckons me. Love is a banner, it covers me. Flying all of its splendor, it beckons to me.
Here
Her mother and I do.
You can be seated. Let's pray. On behalf of Preston and Stephanie and their families, I'd like to thank you for joining us this afternoon for this amazing moment when these two friends get to finally marry each other. As I have sat with them over the weeks and months discussing this day and also this coming marriage, both from the very beginning expressed really one thing. The one thing was, the only job I had, the only thing besides marrying them, the only thing they really wanted me to communicate was their love for Christ, their need for Christ. That was really the only anthem they had in this whole moment that we're about to go through, and even this marriage that is ahead of them. They want Christ to be shown deeply. They want that to be the anthem of this relationship. And they asked me to share a passage, Ephesians 5. You see, marriage is a metaphor of the gospel. It's used as a metaphor all over the place. Even in the end, when our Savior, our bridegroom, comes, he's coming for his bride, who is spotless, who is beautiful. And Stephanie could have definitely made this day all about her. She is stunning. Preston is really not quit smiling. And yet what they wanted people to see is Christ. They wanted to see the beauty of the gospel. And they asked to share Ephesians 5 with you. It says this: "Wives, submit to your own husbands as to the Lord. For the husband is the head of the wife, even as Christ is the head of the church, his body, and is himself its Savior. Now as the church submits to Christ, so also wives should submit to everything to their husbands. Husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her, that he might sanctify her, having cleansed her by the washing of the water with the word, so that he might present the church to himself in splendor, without spot or wrinkle, or any such thing, that she might be holy and without blemish. In the same way, husbands should love their wives as their own bodies. For he who loves his wife loves himself. For no one ever hated his own flesh, but nourished and cherished it, just as Christ does the church, because we are members of his body. Therefore, a man shall leave his father and mother and hold fast to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. This mystery is profound. And I am saying that it refers to Christ and the church. However, let each one of you love his wife as himself, and let the wife see that she respects her husband." Now, Preston and Stephanie, we're finally here. The day that you've been waiting ever so patiently for is finally here. And before we go any further, I want to remind you of the same truth that you asked me to remind your guests. You need Christ. You are entering into this relationship as two sinners. And marriage is an amazing thing. It will change you. It will encourage you. It will equip you. You will have so much love out of this relationship. And yet, it's two unfaithful people, two sinners, entering into this relationship. And so you need Christ, who is always faithful, who is always loving, who is always there. Look to him, because without him, this does not work. And so with that, I have a question for you both. Understanding that, Preston, will you have this woman to be your wife? To live together in a holy covenant of marriage? Will you love her, comfort her, honor and keep her, in sickness and health, forsaking all others, being faithful to her as long as you both shall live? If so, please say, "I do." And Stephanie, will you take this man to be your husband, to live together in the holy covenant of marriage? Will you love him, comfort him, honor and keep him, in sickness and health, forsaking all others, being faithful to him as long as you both shall live? If so, please say, "I do."
I do.
Now let's make this happen. If you can face each other in Preston, please repeat these marriage vows after me. I, Preston, take you, Stephanie, to be my wedded wife.
I, Preston, take you, Stephanie, to be my wedded wife.
To love and to cherish in plenty and in want.
To love and to cherish in plenty and in want.
In joy and in sorrow, in sickness and in health.
In joy and sorrow, in sickness and in health.
in any and every circumstance,
in any and every circumstance,
from this day forward until we are parted by death.
from this day forward until we are parted by death.
And Stephanie, please repeat these marriage vows after me. I, Stephanie, take you, Preston, to be my wedded husband,
I, Stephanie, take you, Preston, to be my wedded husband,
to love and to cherish in plenty and in want,
to love and to cherish in plenty and in want,
in joy, in sorrow, in sickness, and in health,
in joy and in sorrow, in sickness and in health,
in any and every circumstance,
in any and every circumstance,
from this day forward until we are parted by death.
from this day forward until we are parted by death.
Do you have a symbol of these vows? That's making the trip up here. Just as this ring has no ending, so too does this covenant have no ending. You will wear this ring to remind your heart and everyone around you. It's an outward display of this covenant. What you are making in your heart, this will display outwardly. So Stephanie, you will take this ring and place it on Preston's finger and repeat after me. I give you this ring
Give you this ring
as a symbol of my vow.
as a symbol of my vow,
With all that I am
and with all that I am,
and all that I have,
and all that I have,
I honor you.
I honor you
In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit.
in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
And Preston, if you will take that ring and place it on Stephanie's finger. And repeat after me. I give you this ring
I give you this ring
as a symbol of my vow.
as a symbol of my vow.
And with all that I am
All that I am
and all that I have,
and all that I have,
I honor you.
I honor you.
In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit.
In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Now, prior to going on, Preston and Stephanie wanted to stop and take communion together. Power invested in me as a minister of God, I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss your bride. party has just begun.
There's some toppings.
What the heck?
The first two.
Oh, I have to hear that. To each other.
Don't be nice about it.
Hi everyone. Hello. I have prepared some words. Dear Stephanie and Preston, you could not be more different. Preston, my brother, you are painstakingly pensive, reserved, and deeply internal. Stephanie, my sister, you are enthusiastically empathetic, joyful in spite of life, and relentlessly reflective. If you don't know, just ask to read any of the notes on her phone that she has. They're really in-depth because she loves to reflect. Stephanie loves creating dainty doodles and careful calligraphy. She loves baking warm, sweet things. She usually sources her recipes from Pinterest. Preston, you love big, bold, and graffiti art letters. He has a wicked eye for making the most excellent bowl of guac. Truly, I hated guacamole until I tasted his. In college, Stephanie sang alto in our gospel choir. Shout out to VOP. In college, Preston breakdanced to hip hop, twisting and contorting his body in ways that are very worrisome to me. Moral of the story, these two ain't alike. Now, before I go any further, this talk or this speech isn't going to be a story about how opposites attract and how cute that is. That's where you thought I was going. This speech is going to be a story of God's sense of humor. Our God is a God of the underdog, of the unlikely, of the underestimated, of the obviously impossible. And according to so many standards, so many benchmarks and differences of their personality and differences in their background and differences in their friends and how they grew up and how they are now and how they act in social situations, Steph and Preston were not supposed to end up together. They're the underdog. But the thing about God is that he lives for the underdog. He loves stuttering leaders like Moses, ashamed kings like David, timid prophets like Jeremiah, dudes that go into hiding like Jonah, prostitutes like Rahab, and teenage mothers like Mary, and lowly, roaming, homeless carpenters like one guy named Jesus of Nazareth. He loves making his power and glory known through the most ridiculously unlikely people and situations. He does it because he wants us to know that our weaknesses aren't the end points for us. They're actually the start of how his strength and his story come to life in our lives. And when God has a story in mind, he will do whatever he needs to do to make sure it's told and his plan and his will are fulfilled. Example, May 5th, 2017. Steph and I were supposed to enjoy a quiet evening at home. We were baking our favorite s'mores treats, the recipe is from Pinterest, and reflecting on our crazy, complex lives. What actually happened? Many of our friends poured into the house, and we could barely hear each other over all of the laughter. Steph was so stressed. I don't know if you guys know the face that Steph gets when she's stressed, and she wants everyone to have a good time, and she wants to make sure everything is going to plan. That's how she looked. Because May 5th was my last day of college, and she had reserved that night for us to talk about life. I kept telling her that it was okay, and I was just glad to be with her. So we cramped ourselves in the kitchen, elbow deep in dough and chocolate and sticky marshmallow fluff. Preston makes his way into the kitchen and just like weirdly sits on the counter watching us. Actually, let me correct that. He's watching Stephanie. Let me explain how difficult it was for him to come into the kitchen. There are like 12 people in there. If you've ever been in their old house, it's like super small. But he literally climbed over people to get into the kitchen to sit next to Stephanie. So, after we finished baking, Steph and I went into her room and just snuggled under the covers. 10 minutes later, Preston knocks on the door. It's like, hey, I'm just checking on you guys. Do you need any water, Stephanie? It's just like, and it was that night that I knew and understood immediately that something was happening, that a train was leaving the station that none of us would be able to stop, that none of us were supposed to stop. And a year later, those kids were engaged. Sometimes, actually most times, God's plans don't make any sense, but they do make us beautiful. God's plans honor and shine a light on the underdog in each of us. And Steph and Preston's relationship is a beautiful example of God's plan persevering and becoming fulfilled. 2 references before I wrap up. A biblical one and a Ben Rector one, as Ben is Stephanie and I's favorite artist in our friendship. So there's a song that Ben sings that one of the lines is, "Love is not the mountaintops, it's the walking in between." I have to say to you too that you have done so much walking, brave and faithful walking together this last year. If no one else sees it and says it, let me be the one to say definitively, I am proud of you. I am so, so proud of you. You have fought and you've persisted and you made it. Second reference, Song of Solomon. Now everyone sees this as like the sexy book in the Bible, but I don't really see it that way. It's like a very, very nice book talking about marriage and all that. So, Song of Solomon 3:4. I have found the one whom my soul loves. Your souls so clearly love each other. You are each other's safe place. There are no walls, no guard. And it's in that vulnerability that God gets to do his very best work. And I'm so glad that your marriage is giving him that very opportunity. So, congrats, Holcombs. Here's to God's unlikely and perfect plan. I love you. Okay, time to dance.
very lucky and fortunate to have 4 great children and Stephanie. What a great day this has been. Thank you for leading us off. I'm sure we'll have other weddings, but so far this is the best of our kids. I just want to say to Preston and his family, thank you for all that you did this weekend, for last night, which was some great sharing around the campfire and the s'mores fire. And again, we are just so blessed to have Preston in our family now. And we hope that tonight and the week of the honeymoon and your time together is blessed. And I just want to say that God has a plan. And God's plan was to get you two together, and He nailed it. So, congratulations, Mr. and Mrs. Preston Holcomb.
Give me a tunnel. Up a tunnel.
I'm sorry.
Up a tunnel.
Someone's got you.
Sorry. It's all right.
Oh, how beautiful is that?
Okay.
Oh.
Yay! Thank you, everybody!
Wow. I didn't do the little ding ding on the cup thing.
Wow.
They are really, wow. They're gone. Oh, and I do that too?
Are you leaving?
We're out of here!
Good job, guys. We love you guys.